Welcome to Invest Well, Be Well, a podcast for wiser investing and stronger living. I'm Rusty Vanneman, longtime investment professional, and I'm joined each week by my co-host, Robyn Murray.
Thanks, Rusty. I'm a storyteller and journalist, and I am so excited to explore the ideas, insights, and people shaping the intersection of performance and purpose.
This podcast is for thoughtful investors and driven professionals who want to grow in their portfolios and in their personal lives.
We'll talk long-term investing, behavioral finance, personal development, and what it takes to live and work with intention.
So let's get started. Let's invest well and be well together.
This podcast is brought to you by Main Management LLC. Since 2002, Main has been recognized as an ETF strategist that combines an institutional process with the personalized service of a boutique firm. Our guest today is Emily Binder. She's a speaker, consultant, marketing leader. She's the founder of Wealth Voice and Beetle Moment Marketing. That was a great interview, and it was packed full of takeaways and great nuggets.
Emily is a marketing, PR, branding rock star. I mean, she's nationally recognized as for the branding and the market strategy. She's helped many businesses from solo advisors to Fortune 500 companies really stand out in a noisy world. And one thing that pops out, she's an expert in voice marketing, and we talked about the personal branding and really building trust through authentic communication. And today she came on, she talked about how financial advisors can clarify their brands, some very useful tips, connect more deeply with clients, and really harness some of the emerging technologies for advisors to grow their business with purpose and impact. Quite frankly, the message is eternal. It's just not for financial advisors. What were some of your takeaways?
There was just so much that she talked about, and as you'll hear in the interview, her answers are really tight and packed full. So I would suggest getting that transcript and writing some notes and some to-dos from that. But just how important personal branding really is and how to think about that. I think, one of your questions was, okay, we know we're supposed to do that, but what steps do we take next? And I think that's just so important because it's really hard to figure that out for yourself, I think. And she gave some good tips on just what kind of questions to ask yourself when you're trying to figure that out, which I thought was super helpful.
Lots of tips on branding, tips on just performing well in life. And again, a super useful interview. And she had some great quotes. And I did love her quote on sleep. So check that one out. All right. Well, let's get to the interview.
Well, Emily, welcome. Welcome to Invest Well, Be Well. It's so good to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Robyn. Happy to be here.
Well, Emily, our first question, this could be the most important one. Hope you're ready for it. We need a walk-up song to set the tone and tenor of today's interview.
Yeah. It's Eric Clapton in the way that you use it. From The Color of Money.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's a new one. Yeah.
Yeah. It's old school. I really love that song. If you actually look at the lyrics, it's pretty deep. So, I don't know. That one kind of puts me in a good mood.
That's awesome. I love it.
So Rob and I have done like over 300 podcasts asking for walk-up songs, and I think that's our first Eric Clapton.
Yeah, I know. I don't think we've had that on the playlist.
Awesome.
Good.
Pretty cool. All right. So, Emily, let's talk about you and where you're coming from. So for advisors who might be new to your work and to you, how did Beetle Moment Marketing come to be, and what inspired you to focus on voice marketing and personal branding?
Beetle Moment came to be about 8 years ago. I started consulting and I was focusing on podcasts, and a lot of advisors wanted to do flash briefings, Alexa, and I was sort of the cutting edge person doing that. It was a new medium. Long story short, that blossomed into more of a content, social media, full-blown podcast consultancy. And I've been in the podcasting space since 2010 or so, and I've always been really an auditory learner and really passionate about all things voice, the theater of the mind. Everything with podcasting and audio that, in early days was maybe mocked or not understood, just like all the best mediums are at first. And it's still to this day so powerful for business and storytelling.
That's awesome.
So Emily, let's get to one of the important topics right off the bat. And that is, you often talk about the idea that attention is the new oil. So what does that mean for financial advisors trying to grow their brand in today's landscape?
Yes, I obviously did not come up with this phrase, but attention is the way that you get anything done. It's like making somebody pay attention. Otherwise, it's an uphill battle. When we look at marketing, having somebody's attention, especially freely given, is much more efficient than paying or buying their attention, like with advertising, for example. So if you get attention organically, i.e. by creating content, something that's valuable, it's much easier to sell a product or service. And then on top of that, everything about the way we consume information today is attention driven. Whereas before, there was a lot more of a paid placement aspect to it because there were fewer choices for people of, what to watch, one channel at a time. It's not like that anymore.
Not at all. All right, well, let's start with the basics about personal branding. Why is personal branding so critical for financial advisors, especially, and in this industry that's really a trust-based business?
Like you said, Robyn, it's all about trust. So when we do business, even if it's B2B, it's really still to C because we are people. And people make up businesses, brands, personal brands, company brands. It's all people. So we don't want to do business with people we don't trust. So many brands are corporate and faceless, and because they thought for a long time that it was the formal, professional, buttoned up way to be, but it increasingly doesn't work or resonate with just the way that people are. And business has become a lot less formal and a lot more personal because we have so much access to each other. So the personal brand matters whether you're a CEO, an entrepreneur, a solo person business. Everybody needs to have one. There's so many reasons, but I think the biggest one is that it creates possibilities. So if you have that personal brand and that connection with, even if it's a small network or audience, it could be a couple dozen people, whenever you want to do anything that is going to involve them buying from you, paying attention to you, supporting you, networking, that personal brand having some mind share already gives you that possibility.
Yeah. So what are some common branding mistakes that you see advisors make, and what sort of simple changes can they make to really stand out?
The biggest mistake is probably not having a specific audience or person or avatar that you're talking to. Like you're being for everybody because it feels safe, but it's a recipe to be for nobody. The next thing, I mean, this is pretty recent, but just using AI as your voice. And some people would argue, okay, I can have AI learn my tone and read my blog and then speak as me, and I'll just paste it and it's pretty close to what I would have said. Maybe, but we're still in that uncanny valley where you can sense somebody's just pasting AI slop. It's becoming slop. That's a mistake I'm seeing, especially in comments. I was thinking about this the other day. Okay, you use AI to write your LinkedIn post and maybe you finesse it and put it into your tone of voice. We've all done that. But then when it comes to the comments, these are 1 or 2 sentences. You can't write that yourself. Like that's getting really lazy, and it's a bizarre, you could tell when they didn't really write it. Like that's a turnoff.
Sticking on branding here. So you've talked about the concept of individual market fit, which is a fresh take on the more familiar product market fit. What does that mean? And how can advisors apply this to their own business and career path?
So when we talk about product market fit, this is a concept obviously well known in product development startups. I was thinking about this. I don't know if I'm the first one to say individual business or individual market fit, but here's what I would say that means. The same reasons that a product fails in the market are the same reasons that an individual fails or doesn't thrive in personal branding, career, anything they're doing in business. So this is a little bit broader than tactical marketing stuff like we were just talking about. I think this fits into the theme of your show, which is a little more about passion and performance and mindset. But if you have no demand for the problem that you're solving, whether you're a product or a person, it doesn't work. So that's a parallel, right? The product market fit is looking to solve one problem in the marketplace. Like I see a gap, I see a problem, I have a solution that's better than what else is out there. People need to have the same thing in their work. Like, why are you so valuable in this role? Or are you just replaceable? And if so, it's not going to be sticky or meaningful. Then also, why do companies fail? They run out of money. If you wanted to look at it like in a nutshell, they run out of money. Lots of reasons that happens, but you make bad decisions when you're in scarcity. Same thing happens with individuals, like being in the wrong job. starting a company and then having a sunk cost fallacy where you stick with it, but you're no longer solving a problem that's in the market.
I got to think people listening to this are going to say, like, I totally get it. I need to have a brand. But they're probably also thinking, like, how in the heck do I figure out what my brand is? So how can advisors identify and communicate their unique value in a way that doesn't feel like salesy or forced?
I would start with, how do you help people? What are you naturally good at? This goes back to, what problem do you solve? So anytime when I look back at the companies that I've created, the brands, like the work I've done the past, 15 years, when I came from a place of trying to make money, nothing I did really was as effective as when I came from a place of, I know how to help people. I have this solution, or I figured this out through a lot of trial and error myself, and I can help you get this problem solved way faster. Like, don't make the mistakes I did. So when you have some special sauce or something, like, let's say you're an advisor and you're really good at a certain aspect of financial planning, maybe you went through something yourself difficult and you can help others with it. Coming from that place will always just be more aligned, and it will resonate with the audience better than something where you're implicitly just doing it for profit.
So that sort of fits into with how advisors kind of know that they should be on social media. They want to be on social media, but they feel overwhelmed or just don't know where to start. So what are some tips for advisors who want to get started, and how can they stay consistent without it really taking over and becoming like a full-time job?
If you want to get started and you have very little presence, don't try to be everywhere. I would just pick one platform. Maybe it's LinkedIn, maybe it's Instagram, maybe it's TikTok. Pick one and get really good at that and kind of pay attention to what's working there. Find 3 people that you respect and watch what they do. Maybe people you want to emulate, or who are where you want to be in a couple years as far as their presence, their brand, maybe their business. So also, none of this happens overnight. You have to be very patient with it. I would pick one platform and then pick one medium. Maybe it's blogging, maybe it's having an email newsletter or short form video, and then practice that and do that and commit to it and be patient with it. So you have to do it though. It's just, I can't imagine many types of businesses that could succeed and maintain relevance in the next couple years, already today, but certainly as we go in the next few years, without having a presence, a digital presence, which is social media, frankly. Sometimes blogs, but it's really social media.
Yeah. So do you think that there's one sort of content platform that provides the best bang for your buck, whether it's blog, podcast, video, or something else? Or is it just a matter, like you said, of finding the one that fits what you're doing?
It's YouTube Shorts, no question. I guess, like, if I just look at the numbers and the way that you're hitting so many different benefits just with one stone, you've got SEO. So that includes generative engine optimization, known as GEO. I'm just going to call it all SEO at this point. YouTube is going to hit the top 2 search engines in the world, which are Google and YouTube, followed by Amazon, of course, but you're on the top 2 when you do videos on YouTube. YouTube Shorts, you can rack up thousands of views and impressions very quickly, like within a couple minutes, even if you're a brand new account, because with these updates to that algorithm, they're trying to surface new creators, valuable content, and especially non-duplicate, non-AI content to combat the AI slop that I mentioned. So YouTube Shorts, super powerful. And then you can just use Buffalo marketing, which is this concept I came up with, like, use every part of the animal, use the toenail, use the tendon. That piece of content becomes a blog post, an email, a tweet, a LinkedIn post. So all of that, but the YouTube Shorts, you're getting reach, big reach.
I love that concept of Buffalo marketing. I like to think I do that. If I'd spent all my time doing like a commentary, I just want to repurpose it over and over.
Yeah.
And make sure the message gets out. Quick question, also related to what you're saying. So we got all these different platforms out there, but we want to go where the investors are. Like, where are they? I mean, how many are on TikTok and Instagram, and how many are on YouTube, and how many are on LinkedIn? Like, are there better platforms than others?
Well, if you're going after millennials, Gen Z, increasingly TikTok, not solely, but increasingly so. I want to say it's like 30 or 40% of Gen Z will go to TikTok for financial information or answers to questions before they would ever Google it. Like, Google's for older people, me, you. But where are they hanging out? LinkedIn, TikTok, maybe Instagram. It's, again, they're not necessarily searching for something yet. And this goes back to brand, right? You're building that affinity, relationship, trust, even positive association months, years before. If it's a long sales cycle, considered purchase, they're not going to just Google you, see an ad, and call you to manage millions of dollars. It's like, who have I been listening to all these years? That guy, well, I always see his videos. He's pretty smart, right? You're building that over time.
So what messaging tips do you have for advisors looking to better connect with particularly high net worth clients or prospects? What really resonates with them and what turns them off?
Going back to the pain point, it's oftentimes emotional. And this is what I produced a podcast for Tiger 21, which is the ultra high net worth peer membership organization. And I think my biggest takeaway from working on that project, we did that podcast like a year ago. Their big pain point, people that have had a liquidity event or inherited a large sum or anything sudden wealth, but also managing generational wealth, is how do I not mess up my kids when it comes to money? Like giving them too much. They're not motivated. That's the pain point. It's not necessarily even preservation or growth. Sure, those matter, but it's like, how do I not mess up my kids? So figure it out. What is the actual emotional, keeping them up at night thing in whatever group you're going after? With high net worth, that's an increasingly large category. I mean, how do you define that? What when you say it, like, what's the number in your head that it's defined differently, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know the answer to how not to mess up my kids. I heard you say that. It's like, yes, that does resonate. I want the answer.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's how do I not mess up my kids? And then how do I find meaning? Then of course there's legacy, but it's like after this point where you've achieved the American dream, like you have enough, you're not worried or stressed, you don't look at the price on any price tag. What's next? What's the point of life? Is it family? Is it something charitable, philanthropic, relationships, starting another business? Where do we go from here? Those are important questions. I would talk about that if I were going after that audience.
You know, that's not just a marketing message too. I mean, we've had other guests on our podcast that have talked about aligning your financial goals with your values is just wiser investing, obviously, which is the theme of this podcast as well. So for instance, just looking at a picture of your kids, it helps you make better financial decisions, for example. So the value part is really important.
Yeah. Yeah. That reminds me, I think with the financial advice, something else that will help is instead of giving prescriptive advice, which is tempting because people always want an answer, the real answer is that it depends. Most of the time, it depends. For example, home ownership, renting versus buying. Is it a good investment? I don't know. I don't think it's an investment. I think it's a liability, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Depending on your preferences and what matters to you, it might be a great choice or it might be a terrible choice. And that's something that you can't get from asking AI. You need a human to coach you through that decision.
It depends is the answer to so many initial questions between clients and financial advisors. It really does.
Yeah.
This episode of Invest Well, Be Well is brought to you by Main Management LLC, a pioneer in actively managed ETFs since 2002. Main Management starts with a clear fiduciary focus, delivering the transparency and personal attention you'd expect from a boutique firm. They provide financial advisors with solutions, not products. Main also believes investors should keep more of what they earn, emphasizing net of fee after-tax performance to help clients retain more of their returns. I've known Main Management for years. I've met thousands of managers over the course of my career, and one quality I really value, they invest alongside their clients. They eat their own cooking. Over 10% of the assets they manage are their own partner assets, and more than half of the firm are partners themselves. That says a lot. To learn more about Main strategies, including buy-right hedged equity, U.S. sector rotation, thematic innovation, and all asset models, please visit their website at mainmgt.com.
So how can advisors align what they're passionate about, their natural talents, with some of the problems that they're trying to solve, both in their businesses and with their brand?
Well, think about what you do on a daily basis where you're in that flow state, that you lose track of time. It comes naturally. It's easy. It just helps other people, but you enjoy doing it. And it's not what I call a non-preferred task. If you find yourself during the day doing a lot of non-preferred tasks, which are depleting your ego and making you cranky over and over, like we have them inevitably, but you hopefully have the majority of your time spent on a preferred task. What does that look like? You might like talking to people. You might not like talking to people, and maybe you want to write a book or come up with some kind of new platform or build something, code something. I think with all of these finding alignment in the daily life and the career and all that, it takes a long time to find it. It's not some overnight light bulb moment.
Right. So you've talked about AI and kind of overusing it a little bit, but how do you see AI and voice assistants and all the other emerging tech shaping the future of the financial advisor marketing landscape over the next, 3 to 5 years?
We still see engagement with voice, but I don't even say it's just voice. It's really multimodal. So the seamlessness of being able to get information on any device in whatever modality. Maybe it's typing, maybe it's talking, asking, maybe it's just listening, maybe it's watching video. So the multimodal is really where it's at. It's not just voice, it's not just video, it's everything.
Yeah.
And making sure that you're accessible and able to be found in all those places is the key. So what does that mean? What does that look like? In its simplest form, let's say you're doing a podcast. Okay, have it available on obviously Spotify and Apple. Have it on YouTube. It's on the transcript, the show notes, the blog. And, if it's also available on the voice assistants, you can bake that into, and then somebody could just ask for it. Like we do that with Wealth Voice. But having all of those play together so that people can get it easily. What's so annoying is when you go to this podcast and you want to listen to it, and it's like the show notes have an embedded widget that you have to in Safari, but I can't get it on Spotify, or it's not linked, and then I have to go search for it and I'm driving. I can't type. So just give people one easy link to everything. Like click, open, done. Imagine they're driving, because what makes a UX good for somebody that's busy driving makes a UX good for somebody on any device.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned just one thing, Robyn and I love asking questions that ask for like one thing. And so my next question is, of all these things we've already been talking about, what is one marketing mindset shift or habit you think every financial advisor should embrace moving forward?
A marketing mindset shift. Here's the big one. Invest more in marketing and brand, because it is the greatest asset in your business. It is your greatest asset. Apple, what's the greatest asset in that company? It's their brand. You're no different. And if you don't have that brand, everything you do will always be an uphill battle and a hamster wheel of trying to continually buy attention over and over, because then you're just looking for buyers and buyers and buyers. But what you want is to have essentially, let's call it a customer, someone that buys from you repeatedly. And that's how you might define it in like CPG or retail. But from an advice perspective, I'm talking about clients, word of mouth, being hired, and then there's retention. So you don't want to be caught in that customer acquisition cycle where you don't have a brand, because it's going to be a lot more expensive.
So one of the themes of this podcast is wiser investing. And I think that brand and marketing totally ties into that. And the reason why it's important for financial advisors to have a brand and think about the marketing is that ultimately for the investor to have a good experience, she or he has to be comfortable and confident in the strategies they're in and with their relationship with their advisor. So I actually think that brand and marketing is a key part of wiser investing. If you are a financial type or an investment type and you don't think you have to do marketing, you're probably not actually helping your investor, even if you are crushing the benchmark. That's just my opinion, how important marketing is. Well, so of course, another part of our podcast isn't just wiser investing, but of course, it's also stronger living. So we have to ask, what's your routine or mindset for personal wellness and performance? And we're talking physically, mentally, and emotionally.
It's doing what feels good to me in my body. All of the advice is very prescriptive, like the morning routine, the cold plunge, the waking up at a certain time. Not right for everybody. Some people have an inconsistent energy system. So I figured out what works for me. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone else off the bat, because you might be very different. And I think the key is just feeling in yourself and in your day-to-day life, does this work, or am I just fighting an uphill battle? Like, I don't do a cold plunge. It gives me more cortisol. It stresses me out. I don't like it. Just because everyone's telling you to do it doesn't mean you should do it. But for me, I really try to eat clean, and it's not perfect. I don't like rigidity in black and white. I eat pretty clean. I'd say it's mostly plants and good sources of clean protein, 85% of the time. I'm not going to say I'm not allowed to drink. I know when I drink, it's not that good for me and it makes me less motivated the next day, but sometimes it's worth it. So I drink sometimes, not every day, maybe not for a whole week or 2 at a time. And then, of course, movement is so key. But you don't have to get 10,000 steps a day and then feel guilty if you don't get it every day. I don't need 10,000 steps a day.
Oh,
every day.
Don't?
No. I've lost weight walking less. And the month when I was like, I'm getting 16,000 a day, September of 2024, I committed, I did it. And I gained 3 pounds that month. I was like, what is going on here? It's because I was stressed out about it. Stress, mood. That's the most important thing. Sleep. Sleep is everything. Have to sleep. I'm a baby about sleep. Yeah. They say, sleep and I have been together a long time. I don't cheat on sleep.
I like that one. That's great. Stronger living is one of the parts about stronger living is performing well. And you're kind of going into if you feel good, you're going to play well. Kind of goes to the Deion Sanders quote. Actually, he had something before that. He says, if you look good, you feel good, and then you play well.
It's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if my physical health isn't where I want it to be, nothing else matters or works. Like your health is the first thing, always.
Yeah. Great advice. It's making me feel a lot better about my steps this week. All right. So considering all of that and how, you're kind of basing it on you and your mood for the day, but is there one sort of daily habit or practice that you really rely on to stay grounded and perform at your best?
I would say there are 2 that come to mind. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb frequently, especially when I'm focusing on something. And I forget that it's off. And then hours later, I'll have all these texts. I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't hear them because I don't need to answer those right away. So that just refusing to be always available, always on, especially at night, but even during the day, and some movement every day. It's simple, but, get some light on your eyeballs and your skin early in the morning so that your circadian rhythm is not so confused, because everything about our life is confusing to our body. Like, we're not supposed to see light at night unless it's a candle. What is blue light? Why are we watching TV at 10 p.m.? Our body doesn't know, oh, it's morning. So I try to give myself that paleo authenticity wherever I can.
Nice.
I like it.
Yeah. So Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been so great to have you. Before you go, where can advisors follow your work and continue learning from you? And if they want a small first win today, what should they do right after listening to this podcast?
The first win, I would get really clear about who you're going after if you don't already know, and actually sit down and map out, what does that person look like? Give them a name, talk about their attributes and how you help them. And then everything you do from that day forward, you're really just talking to one person. Really, it's just like when you have stage fright and they say pick one person in the crowd and talk to them. This presentation is just for that individual. Think about that with your content. So beyond that, all of the links to my podcast, my blog, my businesses, my consultancy, emilybinder.com. There's also a post about the Buffalo marketing that we mentioned, emilybinder.com/Buffalo. That's how you repurpose your content and it's more efficient, get more mileage out of it. So emilybinder.com.
Perfect.
Emily, thank you so much. This is so useful, the power of brand. And I have to put in a plug for your website. It's great. And anybody who's listening, you should check it out because you have those short videos. It's actionable, it's short. And again, it's super useful. Thank you for your time today.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure, Rusty and Robyn.
Great to have you. Well, we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening to Invest Well, Be Well. Let us know what you think. And if you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe. This podcast is hosted by Rusty Vanneman and Robyn Murray and produced by Garrett Crosby. Well, we'll be back next week. Thanks for listening to Invest Well, Be Well. And hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe.
If you have feedback, guest suggestions, or just want to connect, please visit my website, rustysbridge.com, or email me directly at rusty@rustysbridge.com. Until next time, invest well and be well.